Hey there, and welcome back. In this episode, I'm going to tell you what I got up to this week, a couple of kinky facts, and why everyone should be doing some sort of erotic dancing in their life. For those of you that have been on my journey with me, know that I recently completed my second edition of the BDSM Basics. Really, this is my first edition, but the first edition had such bad audio issues that I ended up having to re-record it. So now that the second edition is done, I started to brainstorm where I could bring this information first, and I thought one of the most sex-friendly places I could think of is strip clubs. I love strip clubs. I actually have amazing memories there. I think strip clubs are like a wonderland. You seriously just don't know what you're going to get, but you're always going to have a good time. I don't think I've ever had a bad experience. I actually have some really amazing memories at strip clubs. Like, a few years ago, a group of friends and I got together and we spent our Thanksgiving at the strip club. And I don't know, it was just such a cute, funny moment. It just seemed like such a ridiculous thing to do, yet here we are all having Thanksgiving together, talking about how much we love each other while we're at the strip club. And it was just so funny. I always feel like there's some sort of sense of wonder in a strip club with the lights and the drinks and the company. And of course, I love the dancing and I love looking at these beautiful women. And hell, like, strip clubs is what sparked my interest in pole dancing to begin with, because I would look at these dancers and just see the strength that they had. And I just wanted to be like them, I guess you could say. I viewed it as such an inspiration of strength. Like, I don't know very many people that can hold themselves sideways on a pole, but these women can do it while shaking their asses at the same time. And I love the costumes. I love those little things that they would put on. I thought every single one of them was hot. And I would picture myself in that costume doing things, like in a scene. Like, I would take their costumes and be like, oh, I know what I would do in that. Like, I cannot be the only one that fantasizes about that. Like, I would look at these dancers' outfits and just want those costumes so bad, and immediately just start building a scene of what I would do and what that character would be. Dance halls, like strip clubs, were a place I would go for almost inspiration. Like, I just thought it was always fun. I loved going with my boyfriends, and I never thought that was weird. And I think that's because I never viewed clubs as a weird place to go. One of my dad's first girlfriends was a dancer, and I remember her being incredibly nice. She bought me my first CD, which was Aqua at the time, and she happened to come into my life during puberty. And one really vivid memory I have of her and I is we were at the beach, and I had to get sand out of my bathing suit, and she came over and she helped me get the sand out of the inner linings, and she never made me feel uncomfortable. And I think she knew I was uncomfortable, and she went the extra mile to kind of say, like, it's okay, women's bodies are changing, and we all have chests, and I have a chest, and you have a chest, and don't be afraid to be a woman. And because of that experience, I considered her extremely knowledgeable, because she was the only adult that had talked to me about puberty. Really, that small interaction was the closest thing that I received. So I guess because I was introduced to dancers very early and got to know them, I never brought in these negative stereotypes about dancing. In a sideways weird segment into this, I actually leveled up to level 2 in pole dancing class this week as well, which I'm super excited for. And also, I want to give a quick shout out to Katrina. Thank you for being the extra push in the enrollment there. And although I just leveled up to level 2, and honestly, the idea of being good enough to dance on a stage one day is super exciting. Like, of course I want to do that. I find that that would be the achievement to all this work that I'm putting in. And to dance at a club for at least a season, I think that's something my older self would look back at and say, damn, look at you go, girl. Like, there's no way that I can see my older self looking back and feeling like, so yeah, of course. Maybe one day you'll see me on stage. Who knows? We'll see. But regardless, promoting the BDSM Basics at a strip club didn't exactly go where I thought it was going to go. I had an idea. I would go into the clubs and pitch to see if I could spend a couple of hours, maybe once or twice a week, at a table basically with my QR code, spreading the message on how BDSM and kink are healthy outlets on AIA. But most of them weren't that interested, which I actually was pretty shocked about. Maybe that's just me and I'm being a little naive. But I thought that a sex-positive establishment would understand that sexual wellness comes in many forms, or at least that's how I thought maybe they could see my product as. And as much as I understand that it's a business and it should be run as a business, there's also a big side of me that thinks that where there is sex, there should be at least one outlet for sex education. Like, I know maybe it doesn't have to be right on the floor, and I know that clubs are for entertainment, but this would be more for like the back of the bathroom stalls, you know what I mean? And if people are already there, then it doesn't hurt to give your patrons some extra value. And as much as we have sex clubs, I feel I wanted to bring this information to places like a club that still have a lot of sex but aren't actually sex clubs, because I feel that people accept going to strip clubs more normal or more acceptable than when people start mentioning that they've gone to sex clubs. How people react to both of those sentences, like I went to a sex club or I went to the strippers, it's completely different. Like, I know they're not the same thing, but I think how they are viewed is so polarizing. Like, one is more acceptable than the other, when really, sex clubs are such an educational place to be in the first place. In my experience, the sex clubs that I've gone to, it's, yes, there's entertainment, and yes, it's for your pleasure, it's whatever you choose, but there's also an equal large amount of workshops and education classes and communicating and talking to other people and getting to know other people. So I feel like sex clubs, it's got a bit of a community vibe to it. And if you have a chance to go to a sex club, you really should go. Most sex clubs that I've been to offer tours beforehand so you can get a sense of an idea of what it is before actually joining. So it's not like you have to just throw yourself into the deep end and put yourself in a sink or swim type of feeling. And to me, sex clubs represent such a bigger picture to our sexual wellness, because I believe that sexual wellness rights should include being able to practice somewhere safe with other people who want similar things. This is especially helpful for people who are into BDSM and kink, because in BDSM and kink, there's quite a lot of equipment and tools that would be easier to learn about if you had someone to teach you. And like I said before, sex clubs are such an educational place to be. And I like learning in person. Like, I want someone to show me, like, even, and that's just not about sex, like just learning in general. Like, there's some of us that like hands-on learning, and there are some things that I think that you should be learning in person. But I want to give you a bit of a fun fact. So according to Wikipedia, yes, the oldest strip club in the United States is a place called Mary's Club in Portland, Oregon. Originally, it was a piano bar owned by a woman named Mary, I guess, yes, starting in 1930. But in 1954, a man named Ray Keller bought the business and introduced go-go dancers as entertainment during the piano players' breaks. Then by 1955, those go-go dancers began dancing topless with pasties. But really, when I hear this, all I'm hearing is that North America was a little late to the party, because I used to be obsessed, and I guess I still kind of am because I'm talking about it, but the Moulin Rouge in Paris, France. And Moulin Rouge in Paris, France, obviously is best known for the modern form of can-can. But the Moulin Rouge was made all the way back in 1989. But also, those type of clubs like topless dancing and burlesque shows, if you have an opportunity to go to something like that, also go to that, because that is an experience that takes a dance club to the next level. And really, if I was to make a dance club, I would do it more like Moulin Rouge and the strip clubs that we're used to here, because burlesque dance shows are such a performance and they're unique. Like, one of the Moulin Rouge acts that I saw, the floor rose up from the bottom, and it was a dancer doing a dance inside a tank of water with a snake. So she was spinning in the water with this snake, this python, and it was just so interesting to watch. And seeing the naked body with the snake in the water, all of it was just so beautiful. And when you really think about it, the naked body in general isn't that crazy of a thing. I read an article called The History of Stripping that was written a few years ago, but it cited the early evidence of erotic dancing can be traced to the Paleolithic cave paintings in the south of France more than 20,000 years ago. 20,000 years ago! That's crazy! And from there, archaeologists have uncovered miniature statue of erotic dancers in Bulgaria and Romania that date back to the New Stone Age. So those ones are estimated to be about 9,000 years old. So this is history. This is part of our history. And This history needs to be embraced. Erotic dancing is beautiful and has been around since basically we've been around. And even if the evidence just popped up 20,000 years ago, we need to accept that erotic dancing has been in our history longer than it hasn't. And still, you can still dance erotically without taking your clothes off. Like, look at belly dancing. Belly dancing is such an erotic dance. It's so hot. Have you ever looked at those girls and the fierceness of those hips just moving? It's so intoxicating, and like the jingling, it's just so hot. And so through all this, like knowing that it's in our history, knowing that it's been here for thousands of years, seriously, I think everyone, it's not that I think, I believe in my bones that everyone has a little stripper inside of them. And even if you think you don't, it's just because you haven't met that version of you yet. Because feeling sexy and sultry and sensual, it's important for us. I believe it's healthy to feel these things about ourselves, and dancing is such an amazing way to do that because you don't need to go out. You don't need to do dance classes. It's just something that you can just do in your room or in front of a mirror or just wherever you are. Just shake it off. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a cheap and easy thing to build our self-esteem and self-confidence. And it's okay to seduce yourself every once in a while. In fact, you should be seducing yourself. We need to feel sexy. Humans need to feel sexy. This isn't a ridiculous statement. And regardless if you're in a relationship or not, how we feel about ourselves, especially sexually and just our level of hotness, it's directly related to our self-esteem. When I wasn't feeling sexy or I was at a low self-esteem, I felt incompetent in the things I did. I felt unloved. I felt inadequate to do anything. I just felt like I was subpar to where I should be. And because my self-esteem was so low, I would lash out at people because I was so defensive and I was very sensitive to particular criticisms. But when I was starting to feel good about myself and feel sexy, it became I was more confident in the decisions that I was making. But it's important to also know that we need to tell ourselves this. This is something that comes from within. We need to become our own sexy energizer bunny, because if we make ourselves feel sexy, then we can make ourselves feel good all the time. And you can start by doing things that make you feel sexy, like get a new pair of underwear, or in my case, I like to get myself these little black collars, because sometimes feeling sexy doesn't take a lot. Sometimes I just put this necklace on and I just transform into a completely different attitude. I just encompass a different attitude. It just brings something different for me. But anyways, although the strip clubs didn't work out the way I thought it was, I'm not discouraged. I got a few good leads in there, so I know that people are ready for some kinky wellness. And if you agree that we need more sexual wellness or kinky wellness places, let me know in the comments. Also, if you or know anybody who would like to partner to spread awareness on how BDSM and kink are healthy outlets for aggression, imagination, and attention, send me an email at thepartition@outlook.com. Again, that's thepartition@outlook.com. I'm always here to help people just like you on their kinky wellness journey. So let's connect. Well, that's it for me. Thank you for listening, and as always, stay kinky.